Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to another Pallavi Market Research video. Today, we're going to be continuing on this theme of discussing the meta skill sets. And so, if you haven't seen one of these videos already, a meta skill set is essentially a skill that can be applied to and can amplify any and all ventures that you might be participating in. In the last video, we discussed storytelling as a skill set, and today we're going to be discussing autodidacticism. And really, that's just a fancy verbal term for autodidact, which is really just another word for self taught, self teaching, the skill of learning things on your own. This, to me, is maybe the strongest of all the skills that we're going to cover in this series of videos because you don't really need to look that far from the people, from it's just pattern recognition, guys. That's where I'm getting at. Study Elon Musk, study Steve Jobs, study Warren Buffett, study Nikola Tesla, study the greats of our time, Isaac Newton, okay? Just the greats of humanity. You will find that all of these people have an intense love, passion for teaching themselves things. And that skill alone is the thing that allows them to confidently pursue the things that they pursue. You are raised in a Western country, odds are, if you're seeing this video, which means that your government has designed an education system where you are taught things by others. You learn things, you know how to learn things only through learning by someone teaching you. And I would argue that not that it really matters that that's on purpose. We are taught to only be able to learn things and to go to an authority figure to learn a skill to acquire a skill and to become accredited in doing XY thing. And now, obviously, if you want to be a neurosurgeon, there's no getting around this, and there should not be a way to get around this, right? But if you're just trying to be an entrepreneur, if you're trying to build businesses across any domain, you really just need the skill of self learning, autodidacticism. Okay? Now, if you're able to sufficiently acquire this skill of learning new things, then you're going to be able to unlock a lot of uh, possibilities for yourself, especially once you're confident in your ability to learn new things. Like I was saying earlier, the, the systems that be, they want you to go to authority figures to learn things, right? And they want you to learn things on your own. We live in this time right now where people view human beings as these autonomous beings, right? We're the captains of our soul. We are these individuals, and we live in this massively unique society in the context of history because we are an individualist society, like almost like a dystopian individualist society. Most societies in human history have encouraged a certain level of codependency, right? If I live in a tribe, for example, I don't need to learn how to make shoes when my neighbor makes shoes. I just need to take care of providing eggs for the community and chickens, right? And like this system of codependency, we really look really down on today. We think of codependency as a very bad word, where in reality that is how the world works. We are codependent on people to provide different goods and services, right? And that is a healthy thing. That is what codependency is, a key component of what a community is. So why I know that that might not seem related, but I'm discussing this point because so many of us are taught not only to learn things by authority figures, but even more importantly, in my opinion, you're taught to work as an individual. You're taught to think about your opportunities in life as an individual person. Sometimes I think if I was in high school and I could do it again, would I go to college? That's a one fork in the road. Or would I just start a business with all of my high school buddies? Like, would we start like, me and like six other guys start like a landscaping business, right? And if we spent 4 years, the 4 years that all our friends were in college building that business up, something that like a landscaping business that requires zero money really effectively to start up, and it's all hustle based, right? You could start a company like that and over the course of 4 years, probably sell it for, high six figures, low seven figures, right? That is very, very doable in this day and age, especially when we live in this world like where this autodidacticism that I'm referring to, this self-teaching, is enabled by tools like the internet. You really don't have any excuse to not know the things you want to know. You can literally watch hip surgeries on YouTube, okay? Like, so, obviously you're gonna have to still get accredited if you want to do that, but like you can actually learn anything. Now, that hasn't always been true, right? And it's actually amazing to think about how not so long ago, like your grandparents grew up in a world where there was not like, great grandparents maybe, there was no television. And the only books that they had access to were the books that were on their parents' shelves or in their local library, right? That was the knowledge that they had access to, right? They only had Ty Lopez knowledge. They only have access to the knowledge, right? To the books, right? The knowledge that they had access to was literally directly correlated with the volume, the quality, and the types of books that were surrounding them. So we live in this incredible opportunity where if you want to become a self-taught person, you can really, really do a lot if you have any discipline whatsoever. You and that's why Elon Musk is so impressive, is because he has all this leverage, right? He has that ability to, you know, like he has tools that like a Howard Hughes, like the first American billionaire, right? I don't know if you guys don't know, Howard Hughes is the first American billionaire. He is literally the person that inspired the Iron Man. He inspired the Iron Man comics, and a lot of people don't know this. Christopher Nolan was trying to make a movie about Howard Hughes right before Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio made the movie The Aviator. And Christopher Nolan wanted to make a movie about Howard Hughes, but because Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio at the same time announced that they were going to be doing a movie, he decided to do a character that he felt was very similar, that was inspired also by Howard Hughes, and that's Bruce Wayne Batman. So if you don't know about Howard Hughes, you don't really know about our culture, right? How our culture got to be the way it is. Howard Hughes, and I'm bringing Howard Hughes up very intentionally, because Howard Hughes is one of the most famous self-taught people in the world. He was famous for taking these UCLA professors and Stanford professors at that time and doubling their pay to be his personal tutor to learn things. And so Howard Hughes was made some of the best movies of his time. He made the fastest and the largest airplanes of his time. Like this guy was a complete and total badass. But just like Elon, and Elon in the earlier days of his career used to be compared to Howard Hughes a lot, but because Howard Hughes is life ended tragically with him in hotels, like with his, really long nails and his beard down to his belly button. Elon Musk did not receive that comparison well. So Howard Hughes was able to achieve those things in his lifetime because of the tools he had and because of his resources and where he decided to invest his resources. And he decided to invest his resources into self-education throughout his whole life. He had some of the smartest professors in the world working for him for literally decades. So now Musk is obviously, he's talked about how many books he's read, right? He's very open about how important reading is, especially in your foundational years. It's a little bit different once you start executing on your businesses. Like reading becomes less important because you're in the flow of things. You should have already learned all the things you needed to beforehand, and that's what that time period is supposed to look like for you guys, right? Between the ages of say like 16 and 22, 23. You need to learn as much as possible, read as many books as possible, develop this skill of self-learning as deeply as possible so that when you are actually in the thick of things, starting your business, executing on creating the wealth you need to for your family and for yourself and, past, present, future, right? You need to have that skill of learning new things on the fly because ultimately with all entrepreneurship, there's always a problem to solve, and the problems change in nature, and the only way you're going to solve the problems on the with the click within the time period it requires is having that skill of self learning. And so if you find it overwhelming to teach yourself new skills, then you're not going to survive in entrepreneurship for literally more than 4 or 5 months. Okay, so we go back to Elon is very impressive today because he's has that ability to teach himself things, and you can obviously see the patterns in things now because of his huge arsenal of information that's just stored in his brain. Then he obviously has tools like, like Elon. Think about how recently a private plane started to become a thing, and how recently Zoom calls started to be a thing, and how recently Starlink started to become a thing. And now Elon Musk is literally doing podcasts from private jets via Zoom, right? And he's doing business meetings the same way, and he's flying around the world and staying like we are so enabled. Our productivity levels are so like the potential of your productivity if you are able to learn new things and it's not just the ability to learn new things, it's the ability to learn new things with a low level of stress without it being stress inducing. If you have a problem and you have to learn something to solve that problem, and you have a stress response to it, if anxiety approaches you, you need to recognize that you are insecure in your ability to learn a new thing. Okay. I have this happen all the time now, and I am continuously investing in my ability to learn new things on the fly. And self-learning for me a has always been a real passion of mine. And because really it's a lot of it actually comes down to like not even my choice, right? Like I had a lot of like learning disabilities and I was diagnosed with a lot of things like that, like dyslexia, ADHD, I had everything. So I really did have to go home and teach myself things if I wanted to pass these tests and succeed at a high level in college or in high school, middle school, all these things, because I wasn't naturally able to learn the same way as everyone else. I couldn't really learn things unless I taught it to myself. So I I was kind of thrown into the fire on that one, not by choice, but a lot of you, I'm sure, are smarter than me in those ways, and are learning really, really organically and through those conventional methods of I'm a teacher teaching you this thing, and you learn the thing, right? But if that's you, you should view that as a double-edged sword, like everything is. Every skill, every pro has a con. So if you are really, 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 and believe me, guys, I have incredibly like my friends are so smart, okay? And some of my friends are so freaking smart they work for the largest companies in the world and they are high level people in those companies, okay? But they don't have the same confidence to go out and engage in an entrepreneurial venture on their own, and they're way more comfortable taking a salary, right? And contributing to a giant machine because they don't have that skill of self-education, right? Autodidacticism. And so like where I'm going with that is i- when you are really skilled in your ability to learn through another person, you you're very unlikely thinking, "Oh, because I'm good at that skill, I am not developing the self-learning skill," right? And that is the other side of the sword. That's the con to being able to learn well in a conventional teaching environment, educational environment, is that you're not building the skill of self-teaching, right? You're just not. And so if you're never building the skill of self-teaching, then you're actually also less abundantly and effectively pursuing and developing your own interests and passions. Because how do you develop your own interests and passions? Like the things you're truly interested in. How do you actually develop your passion into something that is monetizable? It's by teaching yourself how. It's going to, like, even if you are extremely skilled in your ability to teach yourself things, right? I mean, excuse me, if you're really skilled in your ability to learn from others, it's going to be very hard for you to find someone who's highly skilled in the exact niche that you actually are passionate about, unless you're super, super lucky. So everyone needs this skill. And especially in this modern world, man, I mean, it's crazy that everyone's going to college, right? Everyone gets to go to college now. Everyone has student debt. So if everyone at college has a college degree, then effectively no one has a college degree. So how do you compete? You compete by doing what I'm saying and opening up your mind to the fact that you need to learn new things. And if you can learn new things and teach yourself new things, especially in a group setting, especially if you're young enough and you're able to hear this video before you're even in those college years and you're still in high school, man, if you and your group of friends can just drop your freaking egos, like just drop your egos, leave your, like, fuck your self esteem, learn how to learn new things with them, in partnership with them, in collaboration with them, the ones you have shared interests with, okay? Because as you get older, it gets harder to trust new people who come into your life. So you want to have that, that blind trust that is shared between you because you're too naive to not have that blind trust. And I believe that's a really, really good thing. So don't buy into this idea that we're all these autonomous individuals who are on, like, the captains of our soul, this whole narrative, right? Like I was talking about earlier in the video. That is not what you are as a human being. As a human being, like, this is not a new idea. This is Aristotle. Aristotle broke this down. Oh, it's nice. You are a political creature, meaning, I don't really like that term, but that is the technical philosophical term, right? That means that essentially you are a part of a community. That's what a human being is. It's a social creature, right? That's why when, they want to punish you and put you in jail and then twist the knife on you and make it worse, they put you in solitary confinement, right? And if you haven't noticed, pretty much everyone around you is living in solitary confinement on their computers, right? Unless you're, like, living in a super healthy community environment, you're living with friends and all those things, that's great. But you are the exception in this time of, at this time. So, as a political creature, your well-being is dependent on your social position and how your social, and how your community views you, right? And how you view your community and vice versa. You, as a human being, your identity exists in how you relate to the other people around you who care about you. So this is both, I guess, turning into a lesson on not just autodidacticism and self-learning, but also understanding that you are not this autonomous person. You are a person that needs other people. You need a community. And so like, just as much as you shouldn't rely on learning from others to learn the things you want to learn in this world, you shouldn't be thinking that you need to do everything on your own. Like, that these things has to be an individualistic pursuit, right? That's just not true, you know? I would highly encourage you, every one of you, to work with your father on businesses, to work with your brother on business, to work with your best friends on businesses, This whole idea of not mixing friends and family in business, I think, is just such a toxic thing nowadays. Now, obviously, if you're of low character and you don't have the skill of communicating your feelings effectively, and along the way when you're running into difficult problems, right? Because that is what a business is. It's just solving difficult problems and having hard conversations with people. So if you don't have that skill where you can healthily communicate to your friends and family along your business journey, then you shouldn't be in business in the first place. Like, and if you're only comfortable having those conversations with people who aren't your friends and family, then you probably aren't treating those people with enough grace anyway, because you're probably treating them like they're a fucking subhuman. You're most likely treating them as if they are not, you know, as if they're not your friends and family, right? And you don't have to look that far to see how this goes. And if you study history enough and look at House of Saud, right? The Saudi family. Like, there's endless examples. The most powerful institutions are not companies, they're families, right? It's always been that way, and it will always continue to be that way. All right, guys, that's today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Meta Skills on Autodidacticism.